I'm Josh Cooperman, and this is Convo by Design with a panel conversation recorded live from the WestEdge Design Fair, Dallas edition. This conversation was entitled Designing for Wellness, Inside and Out, an exploration to stunning holistic design that connects the inside and out with those who inhabit the space. Love the idea, love this panel, love the conversation, and I think you will too. I envisioned this conversation as one that would open new avenues of thought for a Southern and Midwestern audience. Having spent a great deal of time recently in both the Midwest and the South, I can tell you that the ideas of wellness are different between there and, say, Southern California, where I'm from. And we'll get to that a bit more in a minute. But first, I wanted you to hear how this concept was presented. Here's how this panel was built and whom it featured. The concept of healthy design is a constantly evolving idea as new technology comes to market and the ideas behind living healthy change. In years past, it was low off-gassing materials and VOC paints. Then sleep chambers crafted for high-quality sleeping experience. As the pandemic continues to change the way we live, so has the idea that defines what it means to live a healthy lifestyle. Crafting luxury living both inside and out has become a universal goal to capture as much usable space while exploring new ways to make that space perform. So that's how it was built. This panel featured Shelley Rosenberg, Philip Vanderford, Christina Garcia-Lesot, and it was moderated by Brenda Houston. Simple and elegant, yet as you're going to hear, ideas about wellness change dramatically based on who you're speaking to and who you ask. This group was cast with purpose. Each participant was hand-selected for the individual superpower they possess. And if you listen to the show, if you've listened rather for a while, you have heard from each of them. Philip of Studio Thomas James, Christina Garcia-Lesot of Layered Dimensions, and Shelley Rosenberg all bring different perspectives to this idea of what wellness means right now as it informs their work on behalf of their clients. Check the links in the show notes to see their work. You'll see what I mean. To moderate this conversation is Brenda Houston. Houston is what I would call a hybrid creative. She works in a number of verticals that range from design to retail to product design, which makes her the perfect person to bring out the gems from this highly skilled group. You're going to hear all about it right after this. I am incredibly proud of Convo by Design in year 10, and I'm equally proud of my partnership with Thermosol. They've been presenting partners of Convo by Design for 3 years now, and there is a certain amount of pride that comes with saying that the show is presented by the company that is the best in the world at what they do. Thermosol engineers the most exceptional smart shower products and steam shower systems worldwide for a few reasons. They were the first company to design, patent the technology here in the U.S. dating back to 1958. Thermosol, a U.S. brand, a U.S. manufacturer in Round Rock, Texas, employs an engineering team that designs, tests, and continuously refines the product. Their quality control team tests every single steam generator before it departs the factory. Who else does that? Nobody. I have had the pleasure of working with some world-class designers and architects who tell me, and you probably know this, that the idea of luxury has changed and continues to change, especially when clients want a spa-like bathroom. Steam is mandatory, or it's just not considered a luxury space. And if you want to add steam, you have one true option. It's Thermosol. And now, Thermosol, the industry leader in steam, bath equipment, and technology since 1958, is enhancing their already stellar family of products with new indoor and outdoor luxury saunas. Available in 3 design configurations, each sauna is handcrafted from clear Western red cedar or Nordic spruce, inspired by the brilliance of Northern European sauna technology and design. A luxury bathroom isn't luxury without steam. If you want luxury, you have one option. It's Thermosol. Check them out at thermosol.com and at Thermosol on the socials.
I am here today to be moderator on this wellness panel. Very briefly, I'm a furniture designer. I started off working in organic materials, agate tables, large pieces of quartz. Everything I do is within the organic realm of minerals. And then I also have a wall covering collection, wall coveting, which is done with sustainable product, grass cloth, jute, recycled papers. So I'm very thrilled to be a part of this panel discussion and want to introduce our designers to you, Shelley, Philip, and Christina. And let's kick it off by having you each introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about your firm.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Shelley Rosenberg, and I have a company called Acorn and Oak, and I focus on sensory design. So looking at design as a way that we experience it through our senses, kind of that total experience through what we see, of course, but also what we hear, what we touch, really looking at all the different aspects of home and health in a way that I think is a little bit new, a little deeper, and one that connects with neuroscience and psychology, and it's really been a fun experience to learn all these new ways of looking at interiors.
Philip?
Cool. I'm Philip Vanderford, and I have Studio Thomas James, and we're primarily a residential interior design firm here based out of Dallas. And one thing that we've gotten into in the last couple of years is, particularly going through the pandemic, we've been creating a lot of our own product just out of necessity. And so through that experience of kind of creating our own things and building up a lot of product here locally, we've become a lot more aware about materials, what goes into something, what's required to make it, the positives, the negatives, the whole idea of are we bringing something in, or are we going to resource it locally? So I feel like we've become a lot more aware in our firm, kind of about materials just through that process of actually producing items. So that's kind of been eye-opening and kind of changed the way we look at things.
Nice. And Christina?
My name is Christina Garcia, and my company is called Layered Dimensions Interior Design. And Layered Dimensions was kind of formulated on the foundation of simply a holistic design approach. I think the home is physically built in layers, and I also think that the design in the home or for any residence is also done in different layers. So when we are designing homes, we very much think about the functionality. We think about who's using the space. We work with the architects, the builders, thinking about how each of the spaces is going to be utilized. And then we do construction documents to design the homes. And we really enjoy doing the full scope projects. So everything from the beginning architecture stage all the way to the furniture, art, accessories, and so forth. But it's very much a cohesive design process that can take several years, which is a fun thing for us.
You are listening to the WestEdge Design Fair Dallas edition on wellness and holistic design. We'll be right back. Design Hardware's newly remodeled showroom is where you will find a gallery-style space with a thoughtful display of products, purposefully positioned to allow unbridled exploration and discovery. High-end faucets, luxury tile, natural stone, wood floors, and bespoke hardware selections are presented in a holistic manner, strategically arranged to stimulate creativity and transition your vision from the conceptual stage to a fully realized space. Conveniently located, free parking available. Stop by to find your inspiration. Collect samples, get expert advice, and tackle everything on your shopping list all in one place. Visit them online at designhardware.com or in the real world, 6053 West 3rd Street in Los Angeles.
So wellness and design. Pre-COVID, I would say to you, I would come home from work and my home was my sanctuary. I had all my accessories and everything around me. It was constantly changing and in a constant evolution of design. Post-COVID, because I'm now working from home all the time, the challenge became how do I feel in this home where sometimes I'm stuck 24/7. I want it to be serene, I want it to be calm, I want it to be tranquil. I want it to have a balance so that when I'm working in the office, which I have a designated section, it feels like work, but when I leave that office and I'm still in my home, how does that make me feel as well? And then adding into that smart homes and all of the technology that's happening and how that comes into play with wellness, which for me originally, I would have said to all of you, I don't know that it does. I've now been living in a smart home for about a month, and everything is so easy and convenient that it makes me just feel really calm. I mean, a chime goes off at the house I'm staying in, and it says, your mail is in the mailbox. Someone is at the front door. So everything is kind of done for me. The lights are coming on during the evening. They shut off in the morning before I wake up. The temperatures are all controlled. Things I don't have to think about anymore because I am concentrating on work. So, Shelley, I know that you have a personal passion about wellness, and I'd love for you to expand on that and talk about it, and why you feel so strongly that wellness is now more than ever super important.
Sure, yes. So I have 3 children, and all of them have various disabilities. So I learned very quickly that that was a path in life that I am already living, and decided to really realign my design business with people that have extra challenges in life. And talking about smart home technology, there's also care technology too that is a part of the smart home technology that is making a huge difference for a lot of my clients.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, there's all of this incredible technology that not only takes a lot of the stressors away from being out in the world during the day. We come home, we want that feeling of sanctuary and ease. And so a lot of these programs, they can anticipate our needs. They're pre-programmed, the circadian lighting and all of these other things. But also, if someone is disabled, there's this incredible technology now that can really give them much more autonomy. And for people that are aging in place, it's really exciting to see that with some of these technologies put into homes, either from the beginning, like a smart home complete system, or even afterward, people are living in homes that they love a lot longer. And that really gets me juiced up about design, because there's so much more than just the beauty. We all know how to do that. That should be the baseline, that an environment is safe and it's beautiful. But for it to really function completely customized to the person that's living there, what a joy.
And I think, too, I saw your room at Kips Bay, and I think that, years ago, you would go into a home that may have been designed and furnished for someone who had a physical challenge or who was older, and you could tell. There's a bar in the shower, and there were certain things, doors were wider, but it was a very specific, this is a home for a specific person. Now, it's all changed. It will look just as beautiful as any other home out there,
yes,
because
no more
technology
clinical,
has changed that.
Yeah,
right,
no more
right.
clinical looking environments, which goes back to the dignity that we all want. We all want to feel like we belong.
Absolutely.
The Kips Bay room was incredible because of so many of the invisible things that room was wired to do. So the muse for that particular space was a little girl who was in a wheelchair and also nonverbal. And so through these incredible smart home technology programs, we were able to help her manipulate things in her room with her eyes. So she spoke through a retinal device. And so connected to Siri or Alexa or a Google Assistant, she could say through her retinal device, raise my shades, turn on my shower, turn on and off the lights or her music. It was pretty incredible.
That's fascinating. I did not know that when I saw the room. Wow.
It was hard we had a video that we would kind of play in my absence. It was hard to be there enough to really explain to people everything that room could do. But it was quite a joy to be able to experience. We had well over 12,000 people come through the house last year. And I think I met maybe 7 or 8 of them. And to really tell them what that room did and have people's reactions. And they all wanted to share a story about someone that they loved or had lived with a challenge. Or even if, like the plumber, for example, that put in the plumbing for the space, he was an avid snow skier and had an accident and he broke both of his ankles on a jump. And so he was in a wheelchair for several months, and he really understood what it felt like to not be able to be in charge of your own hygiene, to really have to have a caregiver with you. And he was like, this is really a great thing that you're doing and sharing with people, because we're all going to experience disability from time to time throughout our lifetimes or as we age into it.
Yes, unfortunately, we're all aging. So, Philip, I know your firm likes to work with natural fibers. Sustainability is a key theme. Talk to me a little bit about wellness, projects you're doing, what that focus is on for you.
So one thing I think that that we've realized as a firm in the last couple of years in particular is that even if it's not a client's like total focus over like sustainability, we're constantly getting people that are coming to us and they have an awareness of wanting the fibers to be natural. They're concerned about how they feel in their home, how different products make them feel. They're concerned about like how paint, and just overall concerned about, because they are spending so much time in their home, just really how that feels. And we're also noticing that there's a huge amount of detail when we're going into like doing the construction documents. People are really thinking, okay, exactly, like they're getting so specific about where things are and how they function and how that's going to make them feel, down the road and how that happens. And I feel like it's just a general awareness of product now that we maybe haven't seen in the market in the past. And so even a client that's not their like total focus, they really have this overall awareness of wanting to be healthy and wanting to feel good. And I think everybody is a lot more aware of wanting products that are going to be long lasting. And I think our society is becoming aware of, not just buying something for the moment, throwing it away. And so that's been huge, that I find that a lot of our clients are a lot more like, I'm looking at this for long term, rather than, I feel like several years ago, people were like, oh, I'll just buy another rug in 2 years. So that's been huge. And I feel like that really has changed how we resource product. And it's changed kind of how we think about an item. If you think about potentially keeping it for the rest of your life and passing it down, you're really going to be a lot more, deliberate about that decision rather than just running out and grabbing something for a hot second.
Yeah, I agree. I have seen a change in terms of people looking for heirloom quality pieces because they see it so much more now. Again, if I came home from work, I may have a great table that I occasionally look at, but now I'm looking at it all the time and reevaluating and how do I feel about it with paint colors. I use a specific paint color, Benjamin Moore Mystic Beige, and it just makes me happy. I feel calm. I've used it in all my homes. I think everything now is about how do you feel, are you happy with it, and then the health issues going back to paint or finishes. Plaster walls are becoming more popular. They're very, they're much better for you in terms of the breathability. They're actually very healthy. So there's a whole shift in focus, which I really, really like. Now, Christina, I know as well likes to use organic materials, but also is into spatial positioning and feng shui, which I have yet to do, but I'm completely fascinated about it. So talk to us about this.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I mean, I think years ago, people would come to us thinking, I want a beautiful space, I want a beautiful home. And then it kind of evolved into how is it going to function? And then now it's evolved into not only how is it going to function, but how is it going to make me feel? And I feel like different homeowners, different clients have different goals, whether it is cultural, whether it is their family life, whether it's how they entertain. We're playing into all those different ways that they live in the spaces. When it comes to feng shui, there's some people who are very insistent on making sure that the stovetop is located in a certain portion of the house, so it faces the front door, and so that that's where you're ruling the house, if you will. That's kind of the stronghold of the home. I see we're kind of changing or adding rooms. We used to have one kitchen in our homes. Now we have two. We're seeing there's a dirty kitchen or a catering kitchen, and then there's also our main kitchen. So I think that plays into how you mentally live in your home. So, you can have your main kitchen for your entertaining purposes, and that's where you present your space. And then you put all the back end stuff, the bowls and the pots and pans are in your dirty kitchen. And we see that the kitchen is where, the heart of the home. We say that multiple times. But also thinking about, the kitchen is not only where we gather, we talk to our clients about who's occupying the space and what's happening in that space. Is the teenager doing their homework at the kitchen table? Well, we need to think about lighting. We need to think about, table heights. Do the chairs have backs on them? Where are the young children playing? Maybe it's not a dining room anymore, maybe it's a game room, and we're thinking about colors. And while the house itself may be cohesive, we have different purposes for each space. So it's kind of an all-inclusive way to think about the house in function and in space planning and things like that. But it all comes back to the everyday, starting with the function, and then how do you want to feel in each of those spaces, and kind of relating back to the cultural thing, and also how you're feeling in different spaces. I mean, we're adding kitchens, we're adding prayer rooms, we're adding meditative spaces, we're adding yoga rooms. So there's more rooms for different purposes, and I think it's creating what a true custom home is supposed to be. And we've been saying custom for many, many years, but I think now we're truly getting a custom home in our interior design world.
Well, I think, and that's a super, super good point. It's not so much about how does a room look anymore, although clearly that's important, and that's why there are designers
Right.
who know what they're doing. But how do I want to feel? How do I want to feel when I wake up? How do I want to feel about the kitchen? Do I have people coming over? Do I have kids? Do I have dogs? Do I want a kitchenette in my bedroom or in the office? I put a small kitchenette in my office because I don't want to walk through the house to the kitchen to get a coffee to come back to the office because I'm breaking my mindset of the day.
I think that's really exciting that clients know now that they can decide what they want. I feel like in the past, designers were seen as like this authority figure, and you would hire a designer or buy a spec home and say, well, this is what they put in, so this is what my house looks like.
Right.
And now I feel like people have permission to say, well, wait a minute, do I really like this? What would I like to change? Here's how I want to live. And I think design is empowering people. I know that for some designers, it felt like for a while design was getting diluted when big box stores are offering free design services. But in a way, I think it has, in a good way, has made clients more interested in design and more apt to seek it out.
Absolutely,
Yeah, they want to be educated now and learn. And I think COVID has brought that to the forefront. I still think designers are, ultimately have the most knowledge and education on it, but it's nice to see people get involved with what they're doing.
I absolutely agree. I like the involvement. I like the collaborative process. I mean, there's a fine line. Sometimes I have to really be gentle about why I believe something is better for a client. But at the end of the day, it is their home. And if it fits them perfectly, instead of necessarily looking like one of my designs, I think that that's where design is going, instead of really having a look, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And I think clients don't feel as bound by, like you were saying, like you don't have to have a living room if that doesn't function for you. You don't have to have an office. The kitchen can, like you were saying, it can take very different forms.
Right.
You can have a small kitchen and then sort of a functional kitchen. And so I think clients feel now like they have all of these options. And so I almost feel like sometimes that we're more important as designers than in the past, because it's not this cookie cutter preset notion of what a house should be.
I think that also kind of helps our creativity too. I mean, I think sometimes, a homeowner will say to me, Christina, we have this extra space. This is how we live our life. what do we do with it? Well, we have an extra room, and it's like, oh, okay, well, what can we do with it? I mean, does it turn into a pool table room? Is it a bar? Is it a place where you can go and relax and shut the door and hide from your kids? I mean, it really helps to, it's fun that the clients are thinking outside the box, and what else can we do, and how can we make this more personal? And I think that helps our creativity as well as to, this could be anything.
Well, for sure, and I was thinking about what we said earlier about autonomy with people that are disabled, but for all clients to have choices, it creates this sense of well-being. I believe it still relates to health and wellness because you're now seeing your home as a true sanctuary, as a place where you can have pleasure, where you can meditate, where you can work out, where your bathroom may now be upgraded to more like a spa, and so you're doing more in your home, but you're also enjoying it more, and you're learning how to really relax and reduce that stress, and we know that increases health and wellness. It boosts our immune system when we're in a happy place that really works for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Please come and make my bathroom a spa. ASAP. So in terms of projects you're working on right now, can you expand a little bit and give us a tease of something that's happening right now with you, especially with wellness or smart home, since I'm fascinated with smart home technology at the moment and thought I never would be?
Yeah, so I'm doing some really interesting projects, but one, I'm building a home in Colorado for myself, and really wanting this home to sort of be in line with what I'm preaching at Acorn and Oak, and one of the things we're doing is a circadian lighting system. So the lighting in the house will consistently replicate the lighting that's outside. And so what that does is when we see light, we get impulses through our eyes that give our brain signal about what we're supposed to do. So when we see bright blue light that's similar to morning light, it makes us feel alert, and we know it's time to be up. That's why everyone says don't look at blue light at night, because your brain is thinking, wait, I'm seeing blue light, it's morning, it's time to be alert. And then as the sun, changes position in the sky, the light will continue to get warmer, and so sunset is a really warm light. And so at night, the lighting will automatically change to a different temperature and a different hue. It'll have a little bit more orange and red to it. And so I just think that's really exciting because it is affecting your health and your sleep patterns. I mean, if you're not sleeping, you're not well.
Right, absolutely. And no one wants to be around me if I'm not sleeping.
I think there's a lot of insomnia going on these days, and I think lighting is a big part.
Kind of to tag on to you, I'm curious as to how does that affect, the paint colors and some of the design materials that you're selecting?
Yeah. Well, I'll have to see. I mean, it's something new that I'm looking into, and it will change. You're right. So probably we'll have to do samples all over the room in different parts of, But that happens naturally too when you've got big open windows, and we all know that if you have a lot of green outside, it can change the color. But it's really exciting to see all of these smart home technology aspects and how it's going to change our mood. There's so much of design that's subliminal and subconscious, and I believe that really big companies like Apple and Target and Starbucks, I mean, they're always manipulating our senses subconsciously. I don't know if you all know this, but Starbucks actually does have a patented coffee smell, a scent that they put in their HVAC systems. It's not just the coffee they're brewing. Yeah, it works. And so we're always being manipulated by our senses, and now as designers and people in this industry, we can use those techniques to really boost how people feel in their spaces to their advantage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when you talked about circadian lighting, and it reminded me of Donald Kaufman, the renowned colorist, and I studied with him briefly, and his philosophy was that wherever you live, the outside colors that you find, for instance, if you're in North Carolina and there's a lot of red clay in the dirt, bring that into the house. So you don't want, bright yellow in a North Carolina home, which has nothing to do with the outside. He really believed in terms of calmness when you're entering a home that the outside colors need to then float to the inside, so you transition very smoothly into it as the lighting happens as well. So it's a very subliminal message of being comfortable.
I love that. And also, that kind of reminds me of like regional architecture and making sure the architecture sort of fits into the scenery that it's in. And also, you were talking about how much you like natural elements and that biophilic principle of how drawn we are to nature and how we're predisposed to be attracted to things in nature. Natural elements are a big part of that subliminal piece.
Oh, absolutely. And I see, and I'm sure, Philip, you do too, where people say, I want to feel where the outside's inside. And so it's, how do you do that without physically bringing plants in? I mean, which is also a very good thing. But, we're using a lot of stone in areas that we may not have before, or we're using a lot of more natural tones of wood where it's not everything is painted. Trying to get, creative in other elements of bringing, the natural land, the earth, wind, and fire type idea of bringing those elements into the home. And what does that look like, and how does that work in the space, and what are those materials?
It's nice to see, and it's also nice to see from the perspective of just, the global environment. And, resin and plastic has a place in modernism, of course, but I feel like organic materials, especially like as you talked about, Philip, with your firm using those, it's nice for nature. We have plenty of them, and if done properly and you do your research on it, it's so much better to be using organic. Philip, are you working on any particular project right now where you're really focused on that?
So what's kind of interesting that's happened to our firm in the last year, we have a lot of new construction projects. And we have 3 cases right now where the clients have come to us and they're like, this is the house that we're going to live in for the rest of our lives. And so in all 3 cases, these are builds that are going to be probably like a 2-year long-term project, like a larger project. And what's interesting about that is when someone comes to tell you that, I mean, it's exciting from a design perspective because you know that you're really going to be able to do your best work because it's, a long-term vision. But also it comes into play when you're thinking about someone who may be young now, but this is a forever house. So there are those planning that goes into it as far as like imagining how are the people going to age, how's the family going to change. And so I feel like that's made us have a totally different perspective on how we're designing as opposed to just, I'm going to make this space beautiful. We're really thinking about how long-term that's going to work for the particular client.
Is there like a specific example you can cite on that, like whether it be in the bathroom or the bedroom, or is it about counter heights or as you age and not being as flexible as you once were to get into the shower, et cetera?
So it was funny. This week we were actually having a conversation it was myself and the architect and the clients. We were having a conversation and we were planning the bath space. And so, which is connected to the closet. And so we were having the conversation about how she wanted it for now, and then how she wanted it to function because she knew in like 6 years there were going to be grandkids. And then she was like, and then as I aged, she was like, she was experiencing like her mother's in a wheelchair. And she was like, so how am I going to function when I'm in that point? And we ended up moving like the elevator core like into a totally different position in the house. But it was funny, like, this is something that may probably, and they're fairly young, this is probably 25 years down the road, but they were really thinking about that from a layout and a design perspective, which is exciting that, to have people and being able, to think through projects to that level, so.
I love that. That really is exciting. I wish we could talk to builders too about just pre-blocking, doing things that are universal design principles like from the beginning so we don't have to consistently remodel. Just a block for grab bars would be excellent. And to take those 26-inch doorways and just move them to a 36-inch doorway would be incredible. Just small things, and that's really smart about the elevator. That's exciting that they are forward thinkers like that.
And we even, like in one instance, there was a closet that was going to be a closet now, but we're like, okay, but we put plumbing. They were like, oh, but we're going to plan for plumbing in this location. And the makeup vanity was going to be lower plumbing planned for the future. And I just don't feel like, I don't feel like that I've had clients in the past that have been that focused on like aging in place.
Well, what's exciting too about that is just in case it isn't their forever home, because we know life happens, the next family that moves in has a more universal option. And we also know that so many people now are multi-generational living. You were talking about a lot about culture. And with our world getting so much more diverse, it's exciting to be thinking about different cultures that are using designers and learning about how a lot of other cultures live with multi-generations in one home.
Absolutely, yeah.
Christina, do you feel that with your projects, and feel free to talk about a current project if you like, but that your clients are doing that or looking at their home and saying to you, we're going to live here, this is our forever home, where we used to, like I used to move around every 4 years, but now, and maybe it's because of COVID, I do kind of have a feeling of wanting to be more settled permanently.
I'm seeing quite a bit of people saying it is going to be more permanent. And so when we get the opportunity to work with them as early as possible, we do put on our floor plans or on our construction drawings block for grab bars, or we'll make vanities where they are built in sections. So maybe it's not one full vanity piece, but over time the middle section could be removed at the sink space so that a wheelchair could wheel into that. So we're thinking about some of those things. It's hard to think completely into the future, because you do want to it's not always the case. You're not always, it's not a for sure thing, as you said, but we really try to make it as, thinking ahead as much as we can, and addressing, all the needs that the homeowner is asking for. I think what we do at the very beginning is when we work on an initial floor plan, we sit with the homeowner, and I always say, give me a tour of the home. And this is before walls are built, before we've drawn anything, before anything has even happened. I will say, give me a tour of your home. And they look at me kind of like, well, what do you mean? But my intention is, if you are going to host somebody at your home, whether it's a party, whether it's just a single person coming to have a glass of tea or wine, what are they going to feel? What are they going to experience? What's the flooring? What's the lighting? What are these emotions that they are going to experience in every room? Who is occupying these rooms? And then that kind of then leads me into the next set of questions as, okay, well, if your in-laws will be staying here, what are their ages? What, are they, capable to utilize this bathroom as it is drawn, or do we need to think about that? Do we need to add a shower seat? Do we need to add a bench in the closet? Do we need to, we start to ask more specific questions per room as they kind of give me this fanciful tour, and then oftentimes we change things because of this tour they're giving me, on the plan. So then that goes into that next step, or as we say, our next layer, into what is it going to look like, and then what are the materials that go on it. But it all very much stems from the initial planning and developing in kind of being as forward thinking as we can to those next age, times in our lives moving forward.
I love that for two reasons. I love smart home technology. Everything we're doing is getting better and better. However, I also love the idea of asking all of these questions with your client, because, if a designer said to me, what do you have to have in your bathroom? It would be a window. I grew up with a window in my shower, and I loved it. I can remember the wind coming in, the smell of the outdoors coming in while I was showering, jasmine. Like it evokes a memory that makes me feel good. And so really getting to know the client is a huge leap with wellness and feeling calm. How do you all work with taking the interiors and then going outside so that there's that flow? What are you doing?
Well, everybody loves the concept of inside and out, kind of blurring that boundary, which I do as well. I also think it's important just to mention, we're talking a lot about aging, but while we're the age that we are, there are so many cool things that we can be doing for health, I think, in the house while we're living there. And one would just be really looking at our air quality and our water quality. I mean, things are changing in the world now. And
Yes, absolutely.
why are we not proposing to our clients, or maybe you all are, I'm curious, whole home water filtration systems, better HVAC systems with better filters? I've recently, because of COVID, come in contact with a couple of companies now that are doing these UV light air purifiers that can kill any virus or bacteria floating in the air. So if you're recovering from cancer or you were born compromised in any way, there are so many cool things now that we can do that actually emulate fresh air. Supposedly our indoor air quality is usually up to 5 or 10 times more polluted than our outdoor air.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I always feel like opening windows is important. Having consistent, fresh ventilation is always super important. And then we talked about just seeing nature. Our hearing too is attached to memory. You were saying you smell the jasmine, but I found out in some study of biophilia that the most relaxing sound that human beings can listen to is bird song. And that's because when we were cavemen back in the day and the birds were singing, we knew that we were safe because all was well. And when the birds stopped singing, usually there was like a predator near. And so we would kind of jump into fight or flight. So, even in the Kips Bay room, we had like bird song in the background.
Yeah.
So it's just really fun to kind of blur that indoor-outdoor, because I think, again, it might be subliminal, and it's also very conscious that it's fun to feel like you're having an outdoor shower, or you're, being able
Which
to...
I love.
Yeah, and you're being able to eat al fresco outside. I'm sure you guys do a lot of indoor-outdoor, the big glass sliders now. And
Right. I feel like now we have the technology to where all that automation and moving walls, and it can be sort of indoor-outdoor.
So it's our inaugural launch. We're thrilled to be in Dallas. My question is, you've walked the show. What has been one of your favorite things that you've seen? I'll start with Christina at the show, and why? And how does it pertain to wellness if it does?
What I've seen is some really great artwork. I think that they're doing, utilizing unusual materials to create artwork as well. So I think that sparks some creativity inside myself. And, how can we use other materials to be something else? So I think that that's been something that's really drawn my attention here, as to seeing all the different forms of creativity in new and unusual ways that are going to be really well spoken to for different clients' homes.
Yeah, and I think it's so important because often in cities, Dallas, if you have $400,000 as a budget, you'll hear a client say, "Well, I'm going to put $300,000 in art, and then we'll put the rest into furniture." And you're like, "Okay, no, it doesn't work like that." So to show the combination is nice, and it's a 50-50. I mean, they both work off each other, so it's important to realize that. Philip, what about you?
I saw a beautiful hardware line as I was walking in, and it's actually a line that we use quite often, but I hadn't had the opportunity to see such like an overall scope. I'd just seen a piece or two, so that's interesting. So I think even for us that are in the industry constantly and shopping constantly, it sometimes need to just see a little bit bigger perspective of what's going on. So that's been great.
I've seen really interesting forever materials, lots of stone, and we were talking about the fossil pieces of stone with fossils embedded that are being made into furniture and art, which is really interesting. And also, there's a tile company here that's doing a terrazzo type product, but in a green way. No more of those old stinky epoxy materials. And so there's a lot of interesting, more sustainable and green product here too, which I'm enjoying seeing.
Yeah, Green River Fossil Company, which are friends of mine. I've known them for many, many years. And clearly fossils are millions and millions and millions of years old. It's difficult to comprehend how old they are. But if you take it and put it into a modern home and it's a nice balance and reminds you of what we're about and brings you back again to nature, this feeling we all want to be one with nature. So I agree with you there. It's a nice mix.
This has been an incredible experience, and I look forward to it resuming again next year. And thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank
fun.
you, guys. It's
Thank
been
you.
really, really
It's been fun.
interesting.
Thank you.
I'm going to see each of you for my new spa bathroom.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We are living in a time of incredible growth, both technologically and creatively, with respect to interior design, exterior design, and architecture. There is no question. There are companies thinking differently about the business of design and how to make products super serve those for whom they're being made. One of those companies, and one of my favorites, is Moya Living. Designer and fabricators of some of the most stunningly beautiful, incredibly durable, and highly functional kitchen, bath, and outdoor kitchen cabinetry on the market today. Powder-coated steel with stunning lines, vibrant colors to fit any design style or aesthetic. A history of designing cabinetry for the scientific community, so it's been tested in some of the truly the most harsh conditions available. Moya O'Neill is the CEO and founder of Moya Living. She's the inspiration behind the design. Designers, their specification process is so simple. It will make your job so much easier. Check them out online through the socials at Moya Living, their website, moyaliving.com, and in the real world, their live kitchen showroom in Fountain Valley, California. Thank you, Christina, Shelley, Philip, and Brenda. Fabulous job. I loved this conversation, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this and sharing your expertise and insight. Thank you to Convo by Design partners and sponsors, including Thermosol, Moya Living, Design Hardware, and the WestEdge Design Fair. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to download, subscribe, and listen to this show. I appreciate you, and I hope this show helps you do that thing you do better. For more information about the show, about what we do here at Convo by Design, check the show notes for links and ways to connect. Until next week, be well and take today first.